Okay, hello everyone. It's nice to see everyone again. A couple things that I just want to mention after being here this morning. The venue's probably the best we've ever had, so I can see us. Thanks, Andrew. The venue and the post service in here too. So this is great, and it's been, as for the organizing committee, it's been way better as well. We haven't had to arrange the catering and the hall rental and the video services. This is super, so thanks to NSCC and Andrew for putting this on. And the speakers this morning, Dave, that was really great. I don't want to embarrass him, but he's already gone. The $20 million bought a nice coat. I thought it was great. That's what I know you want to say that. So. Anyway, this is super. So I'm going to give it. So I am the face, I guess, of Eastern Region Woodlot Services, so the nonprofit associations. The three Eastern Mainland counties is one organization, and then in Cape Breton, of course, we have the Cape Breton Private Land Partnership, and I'm very involved helping that move along as well. So normally I'll give a silviculture update, a harvesting update, and it's kind of business as usual, like what are our levels at, the numbers and so on. What is the activity and what are we involved in, but there's always new projects going on, and it feels like this year more than ever, there's new stuff happening, and I've been at this since 2009. Never have I seen this much, at least great ideas and planning and resources and funding opportunities for the private land sector, and I think, that's, if we're looking at the high level down, it's, this whole thing with the Leahy report and how to respond to those recommendations and implement ecological forestry concepts on private land. And the province, the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables is focused primarily on Crown and setting an example for private. But I think we all understand, as harvest volumes decrease on the Crown, there's an added pressure on private to supply those. So at some point, things don't add up in the short term. And I think what I'm getting at is when you have good ideas and you try stuff, it seems like it never takes off. But after 10, 20 years of it, if you can keep the momentum, it does make big differences. And a wise man told me one time, don't try to be perfect, just keep it going. So that's kind of been our attitude with all of this. So I'm seeing things now that I think will take a long time, but it's worth keeping the momentum going. So I'll start with our regular membership overview, silviculture program harvesting, the certification, our forest certification, and the ecological forestry pilot. Ryan with the Family Forest Network is going to present on it, but I'll touch on it very briefly, just how it's involved, maybe more directly regionally for us in the East. So our basic member services, there's two different groups here, but we're kind of one big happy family that work together across the causeway in the East here. So, it all starts with the point of contact for management planning. It gives us an inventory of the woodlot, and it allows us to provide landowners with the best available information we have in forestry in Nova Scotia to the highest standard we have available. So we use our certification standard program as a forestry 101 thing for private landowners on, what are the best options. So we try to educate people with our management planning as well as get inventories and treatment options. And that feeds into our silviculture program. So once we've identified areas, we have dedicated budgets annually that we can facilitate the treatments with the contractors by region. And then we try our best to provide support. Primarily for treatment options, but then over and above that, for just general questions as best we can. So that's what we do. So our membership on the Eastern Mainland just looks like this. It's not, I probably should use darker colors, but the main message here is that it's scattered. I always say if there's 10,000 woodlots in Cape Breton, we have maybe 800 pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. And they're scattered. So it's very randomly situated based on landowner interest and programming. So Cape Breton specifically, we have approximately 650 woodlots in the program. We find that are maybe a little bit above our comfortable carrying capacity for one manager, one clerk, and some extension staff. So the phones just ring more when you get over a certain number. You can't service all 10,000, but we try to look at it as the harvesting work and the silviculture work in any given year, as well as new landowners. That's sort of our annual carrying capacity that we really try to look at. The program is built, and this is since 2014 when CBPP established. We've grown to 44,000 hectares of inventoried land through management planning. I don't like showing the active management plans all the time, but I do because it's necessary. But our plans are based on a 10-year cycle, and then everything's voluntary, of course. There's incentives for landowners and access to programming, but when plans expire and people don't renew, the program decreases. And I have two minds of that, but I do like to look at the running total as well. Even though people's plans may have expired, they still have that information and try to carry it as best they can. They just might not need the services. So the growing numbers is still relevant. Similarly, on the Eastern Mainland, it's about 33,000 hectares. We don't have a dedicated service office like we do in Cape Breton, so it's a bit more of a word-of-mouth operation, but we do trickle in 10, 20 more management plans a year, and it more or less tries to match with the need to, or the levels of silviculture we have available and our ability to monitor harvest for landowners. I did want to mention, before I get too far, let's see what's next here. Staffing workforce has been a challenge over the last, previous to 2023, over 2022, 2021. I'd like to recognize David Sweet. Many of you, if you're on the Eastern Mainland, you probably did your plan, you probably did your meeting, you probably arranged your silviculture and monitored your harvesting. He was awarded Forest Technician of the Year this year at their annual AGM, and well deserved. So thanks for all your hard work, Dave. Way to go. Yeah, it's a Forest Technician of the Year, but I think that's a bigger recognition for all Dave's work over the years. And on Cape Breton, we were actually without a manager for 5 months last year. I felt it as best as I could to keep the lights on and keep things going, but we're able to get Bria Sampson McDonald. You may have seen her out, or you may have dealt with her in day-to-day operations. So we're super lucky and happy to have her. She's been here since the end of November, and we feel like we won the NHL draft lottery with her. She's super, so great to have Bria along. Also, one year to the next is different. Last year we're up the creek without a paddle, and now NSCC's provided us 2 co-op students. Aaron and Charles are here to start this week, and we're basically going to send them out through our silviculture program, at least initially, and swing plots and help with quality and safety and just making sure everything goes well. And we also have been able to hire, I'll get to some slides, but Erica Anderson from Westside Middle River has joined us. She was a summer student last year, and through the Unimaki Institute of Natural Resources, UINR, which represents all of the bands in Cape Breton for the natural resources programs, they've had a fund for 5 years federally for the Bredor watershed for species at risk projects. And we were able to hire Erica after her summer program ended, and she's been with us, and we're working to keep her on. So that's been a huge resource help as well. She's acted as a bit of an outreach person, but mainly around species at risk projects, but just in the supervision. So things are way better this year. They were super challenging last year, and it's a lot of cause for hope and promise to grow these programs. So I'll just start with our certification. I'll keep it brief. Most of you have had a plan, I guess, and have seen this. This is just an international certification standard intended for best practices and all values of the forest. It originated in the Brazilian rainforest to try and prevent that situation. Land ownership's tricky down there, so it became a bit of a Western standard for best practices to certify wood products through a chain of custody system. We adopted it because it was the best available independent, third-party auditing system standard that says this is good forestry and this is the best available way to go forward. It's not perfect. but it gives us something to share information with. And we're audited annually by an independent third party from Ontario, Quebec, that represents FSC International, and they'll come in and audit us to that international standard for a local standard. And for a week, we cart them around with woodlots and jobs, and they analyze our books and records, and they reissue the certification each year. So that's how that works. So most of our membership is in Cape Breton. It is a voluntary program. We offer it as a value-added thing. So if you're going to come to us for membership services, you can get more or less the same thing, but we offer the FSC certification at no cost, just to try and promote the program, and it's completely voluntary. Eastern Mainland, I guess, where it originated. So Forest Fiber, my group, maintains the certificate for the province, and then we help administer it through regional service organizations like CDPP. So it is primarily an Eastern-driven program. I guess on note about it all, like the financial reward is minimal for it. It's really just demonstrating great practices, and having the oversight. But it's pulp-driven from the market. So the only current revenue from FSC product in Nova Scotia is pulp sales to PHP exclusively. So all the other products, there's no revenue driven. So that's why there's so much at the east, I guess, and less in the west. Anyway, we're up around 70,000 hectares, which is no small feat. 2006, it started with 4 woodlots. One of them is here. I saw them this morning. And we've just grown one woodlot at a time over the years, 20 to 100 woodlots depending on the year, and we just keep adding one more at a time. Now we're seeing newer opportunities, such as it was great, the Jenna went right before me, that there could be demand for this in other areas, so it's good to keep it going. Public summary of the website. Anyway, anybody curious about this is a presentation. It's just, we have a website that has all our online resources, health and safety, policies and procedures, etc., public summaries. So CVPP last year was a slower year for us. And I don't think there was any shortage of credits or ground to do, but there was a big changeover in the available silviculture contracting base. It was very difficult to get contractors lined up. We were short-staffed last year. We didn't have any field staff to help, so we just kind of pushed along the product through to 132. Normally we target and have available up to 300, 350,000, even more some years when things are going well. So it was a trying year, but still kept it going. The registered buyers program, so mill industry programs, is where we get most of our funding. We have a dedicated budget through the ASF, which helps them with admin and allows us to allocate certain nuances of the program that don't fit into our industry program well. So that's always been a super relationship, especially with timing. I won't triangulate on the details, but the industry credits end December 31st, and the ASF credits start in July sometimes, but now that we've found overlap, there's no gap in our season. We don't have to say wait. We can more or less go all year with our funding sources. Most of this, these are the amounts, but most of the dollar sign's a little further to the left there, that's area in the middle, but most of it is planting and PCT. We have 2 PCT categories combined, plantation and natural. So, it's 45-ish% each, and then the rest of it's broken down between a minor amount of commercial thinning, especially on Cape Breton. It's always been challenging. It's the manual weeding, that early stage to keep plantations free to grow. And forest fiber in the Eastern Mainland, which we also offer across the province when we run out of ground in the Eastern Mainland, was 117,000. That's about half of what we typically have there as well, and that was due to shutdowns through our industry partner. So this year, this is all leading up to a bigger year this year. Same sort of scenario. We do a little bit more of the off treatments, I guess, or the non-PCT, non-planting treatments. Especially we're able to do a bit more commercial thinning. We just have stands that are maybe more accessible or more ready to go, and the contractor base is available in the Eastern Mainland. We have more hardwood thinnings that go on there. Softwood commercial thinnings have been pretty standard in the mainland for years. They're tough to get going in Cape Breton, so we have a bit more of that. So it's leading to, so for CVPP, we're basically looking at double last year, and the planning process for the last couple of months, which Bree's been spearheading, has been going great. She's found lots of ground, and there's a new contractor entity that has come in. It's actually, if I'm not mistaken, Bree is a Ukrainian outfit that's bringing in workers from Ukraine. So that's kind of a cool story. And they just started in the last couple of weeks. So Bree's been out on site making sure they're comfortable, making sure they know how everything goes. We're going to stick Charles and Aaron on them to help with their counts and keep the workers confident. And watch for health and safety and so on. But that's going to allow us to achieve what's available in credits. I think we have proposed 240, but I think if that all goes quick, I think there's more. So things are looking up there. Same thing for forest fiber. We try to allocate everything to our membership base, and then when that gets, when we run out of ground there, we'll just put it to the general woodlot population. We'll do that by reaching out to contractors we trust and have good relationships with. And we usually are able to use up our whole budget. Sometimes it's the last week of December, but it does work. Harvesting activity is a slower year again, but typically, I'll do this more as a generalization with 30 to 50 jobs, I guess, or a number of contractors, very small jobs to very, very large jobs, depending where they are, but a variety of treatments. Anywhere from 15,000 to 30,000 tons we have tracked through our FSCG and custody and PHP. Of course, there's volumes that we aren't able to track outside of that. They go to different places, but generally speaking, that gives us a good picture of where we're at. Studwood, pulpwood, fuelwood, primarily from Cape Breton, a little bit more solid mixture in the mainland, but it's a solid system as developed, and it's dependable. I think there's a lot of work to go on to capitalize on the system. I think we've got to figure a way to pay for all products that come off of woodlot, not just pulp, if you're going to manage to a standard like this. But anyway, keep working towards it. Hurricane response. It's been less than Cape Breton. I wanted to ask Dave, maybe Paul can answer, but how much demand has there been from Cape Breton, where there's been that 50% damage level? I think I was surprised, even though we knew, the bottom in Cape Breton was the eye, and they got through it quicker and lost the power for a shorter time. There doesn't seem to be as prevalent damage to Cape Breton. Of course, the eastern side, especially up the northeastern side, is a bit of a different story. Gathers and Mara and stuff, but everywhere else, we got a fellow to do some drone imagery, some softwood things we had done last year. I was expecting the worst, and it was very, very, very light damage. Not to say it won't get worse next fall, but that was a surprise. So that's good. So we've been trying to help on the eastern mainland a little bit, and we're trying to get geared up to help ease the burden on our members that are looking to ASF a bit more, especially those ones that don't qualify. So a lot of people are wondering, how bad is my woodlot hit? And it's going to be years before everybody gets the answers they want. So we're just trying to figure out a way to do that. Dave has been out looking at a lot of sites, especially treated areas. And what we're finding especially is that, or something that a light bulb that clicked to me is to follow the contractors. So the contractors we've dealt with, where are you going and how can we help, or what can we do to help facilitate, or what should we be doing? And their priority list seems to be existing clientele. So woodlot owners that are their clients previously that they've done treatments on. And most of those are previously treated stands. So commercial things basically in softwood and hardwood, that seems to be where they're going first and foremost. And then I expect once that's been addressed as much as possible, we'll start to get into untreated areas and just general woodlots. But we can't do anything with the contractor base, so we're trying to get ahead of them and work with them a bit more. But this is typically what we're seeing. Like it hasn't, what happens in that 0 to 50% damage, what are those people left with? And so we're trying to address all those things. And I think just getting the inventory over this summer of what, where, and how bad is still a big job. So woodlot sector initiatives, a big thing for us, I mentioned it quickly, but our Bredor Watershed Species at Risk project through UNR, that's continued. That's also leveraged us to have a full-time employee that I sort of said, start looking for funding to keep your job going. But when she did that, it was kind of incredible how many opportunities are out there. So we have a couple of projects lined up, and then the Family Forest Network, of course, we're member organizations there. We're trying to help facilitate that. There's a number of species of risk out there. There's lots known about them. There's some best management practices or beneficial management practices for them, but there's a huge gap in knowledge and in practices, and we're just trying to learn more and act better, I guess, and advise better and manage better. So the first project was roughly 25 management plans a year for 4 years. 16 a year. This year there was 26. Just some overflow that we're able to finish this year. So that's finding known species at risk habitat on private woodlot in the watershed. The watershed's 80% private, so it really limits these other groups that have the funding to access private landowners, and that's where we came in. And so we're providing management plans through that program to help better people's knowledge that they may have it on their property, and provide advice for best management practices. This is what it looks like. Some of you may have this before this program, you saw it in your plan. It's allowed us to improve our planning processes and learn more about species at risk. And a very focused project that's come out of that is with Dr. Cindy Stacer through Dalhousie University. She's the guru on land bird species at risk. So the land bird part means like forestry relevant. There's lots of species that are maybe more coastal or not affected by forestry so much. So the focus is on the land bird species at risk in working forests. And what we know is there's a bit of an inventory of spot sightings over the years that's been built up in a database. And we know probable or characteristic habitat for these species, but we don't have it. There's a huge gap in what we know in Cape Breton. And so we're applying for a fund to better that knowledge. And what we're going to do is purchase 20 autonomous recording units. These ARUs is what you'll hear the term as. So if anyone's interested in this and they think they might have a habitat type, we're going to be looking for candidate woodlots to put these on. And we're going to, starting next breeding season, not this summer, not this spring, but for next year, we'll build a project up to try and put out 20, maybe more of these ARUs. And what they do is record all sound. And then, I don't know if it's just people or if there's software that helps, but they're able to basically inventory hard data of known species presence based on the bird calls that this thing records. It records the whole breeding season, and they come back with this massive amount of data, and then it allows the researchers to compile that data and analyze it and get better knowledge. And then, of course, the result of that is to try and improve what we do when we harvest, basically. I mean, that's what really matters in the end. So that's a huge project we're proud to be a part of, and there's other side ones that we're kind of toying around with, but that's sort of this year's focus. So anybody interested or thinks they might have, basically, like, I'll probably hatchet this, but uneven age, like multiple canopied, and has tall black spruce stems, potential around mostly white forest, but not always. So if you have that kind of multi-age black spruce stem with openings, that seems to be a bit of a common thread between at least two of these species. But just reach out to the office or Breeder or myself, and we can help. But check your manager plan, and if not, just reach out. So that's great stuff. I'm going to go easy on this. I don't want to steal Ryan's thunder, and probably it's the same slides from last year, but it's kind of broken into 5 pieces. This ecological, the Family Forest Network Ecological Forestry Pilot. It's a fund. They have 3 staff designed to implement and study in a controlled, scientific, rigorous way about 200 harvests over 4 years across the province, targeting stands that have the most bang for your buck for restoration opportunities, to put them on their pathways of their climax forest type. And so basically more shelterwoods, implementing shelterwoods where it probably would have been a clear cut to the open market. So with that, Jenica's project is part of it. That feeds into another part of it that's carbon inventories. Another part is biodiversity assessments. And I guess in the end, what really matters is, especially locally or in our region, is trying to facilitate contractors. It's not too hard to make a plan and be ideal about what you see and what you think should be done, but it's really hard to get somebody to do that job if you're not going to do it yourself. Like we saw with Ron this morning, which was awesome. So that's a big challenge, and we recognize that from the start. And I don't think we've really gotten too far in a year, but we're starting to see the staff come down and look at woodlots and talk to people and talk to contractors. And I think that's the missing piece to this, is how to facilitate and enable some like-minded contractors to try and fit this niche. Because we're still in a largely pulp-driven economy from the contracting base here, so it's hard to not go flat out to make a buck. So that's the challenge. That's where we hope to help. I should have put my slide up before, but again, I don't want to overdo what Ryan probably going to give me years when I'm done here. But yeah, so that's the thing for us. I think that there's contractors that want to do it. It's really hard to facilitate timing, the right ground, the access, the infrastructure, the management, advice and help. So I think that's going to be the big thing here to get it going in Cape Breton. But I guess we're looking forward to the opportunity. Jenica already presented. Carbon inventories is done by a third party, Community Forest International, and they're just proving inventory methodology through the project. So I don't know that there's anything more than that at this stage, but that's part of it. And the biodiversity assessments, that's driven by MTR, the Mersey Tobeatic Research Institute in the West, and they're making it basically an inventory protocol for recording all other values besides timber inventories. Yeah, so I didn't want to go too fast. Okay. Anyway, that is the message. I'm open to questions, but if you're in, I did want to ask how many people are at the conference for the first time here today, just by show of hands. So that's super. Yeah, so it's great. So I think you'll get the most value of this. There's a lot of faces I see that come back every year, and it's so great to see them, but we don't always have this many new folks. So I think especially our programming is really of most value if you don't have immediate harvesting and silviculture needs for newer landowners, that this is all new to them. If you already know Forestry 101 and how to inventory your lot, it's not always the highest value to you, but for landowners, these programs can help a lot. We are publicly funded to a certain percentage of our operating budget, so we offer reduced rates for services. Anyway, that's it. So Bria's got a booth out there if you're in Cape Breton, and you can come up to me if you're on the mainland. Any questions?